If you've driven by the Tulsa County Extension office any this year here on the north side of the Tulsa County Fairgrounds, you've probably noticed some really big changes. They've done just an incredible amount of landscaping in front of the office and put in just some wonderful gardens. And here to give me a tour is Barry Fugatt. How you doing, Barry?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good to see you. All right.
I am so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
I have been trying to get you here for a full year to see what's been done here, and we're very proud of it.
Well, I'm glad I finally got a chance to come by.
Good.
Barry is, of course, a horticulturist here with the Master Gardeners in Tulsa County. And Barry, what kind of things were you guys thinking about when you set about to do this massive project?
Well, actually, what we were originally thinking about bore little resemblance to what we ended up with. We weren't thinking this big or this big or this grand. Although the garden isn't that big here along 15th Street, as you can see, we've just filled every square inch of it we could. But the idea was that surely there would be a way to do two things. One would be to memorialize volunteers who spent many, many years with us and are deceased. And the other thing, I think the biggest honor we could give them would be to, in the garden that we use to memorialize them, make it a teaching garden, so that many generations can use it to learn about horticulture and gardening.
Okay, sounds like a really good plan, and it looks like you guys have just done an incredible job here. Do you mind just showing me around?
I don't think I would mind at all. In fact, I've been looking forward to this for some time.
Great.
So we've got everything here, I think, that we could cram into it. We've got color, we've got lots of texture, as you can see here. We've got some unusual species of plants. We've got stonescaping, we've got cobblestone, we've just got everything that we could possibly cram into this space, and something that I think the public would enjoy coming and seeing.
Okay, so you guys have quite a bit of the traditional garden plants that you'd find in pretty much your average garden center or nursery around the state. Then you've got a few unusual things.
We do. In fact, we've got one right here. And the other thing, Steve, is that we are hoping to change out about a third of the species or the cultivars in here every year. So we want the garden to remain fresh with new things all the time so that people can come back every year and find some new stuff that they might like to have in their garden.
Okay, something new every year. So what do we have here, Barry?
This is a plant that you rarely see in the nursery trade. It's Macchia, Amer Macchia, but it's a really neat plant in that it doesn't grow that fast. It's open, as you can see here. The idea of using the plant in this location was that as you approach the garden through this arched entry, you see this tree that'll never get too big because we don't have a lot of space here for it to grow. And we think this tree will do it. Very drought tolerant, insect and disease resistance, summer blooming, and we don't have a lot of species, as you know, that bloom here, woody plants in the summertime. So I think this plant just perfectly filled the bill here. But that would be a great plant in people's gardens for entries, courtyards, those kind of places where they needed a little bit of height, but something that they wouldn't have to prune and butcher on to keep in place.
A great small summer flowering tree.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you said yellow flowers.
Yeah, very airy too, as you can see here. It's not gonna, you can see right through the plant, so to speak.
Absolutely. You guys certainly do have quite a collection of plants here, and this looks like a good idea if I were visiting your garden to get a list of the plants.
Exactly. Visitors to the garden, not only can they go inside, and probably we can have, if master gardeners aren't tied up at the moment, we'll come out here and talk to them about individual plants. But short of that, they can simply lift that little lid there and get them out a sheet. And we've got the garden broken down into areas A, B, C, D, E. So the plants are arranged so that they can find whatever they're looking for that's on the sheet.
All right.
Yeah.
Good way to
Free
categorize everything.
Can't beat it.
Okay. Well, I think this is really interesting, Barry. This rock sculpture, I guess, natural sculpture.
I was so excited when I found that. Again, I knew that I wanted something here to cause people to pause for a moment and just to see something interesting. So I thought about plant material. We thought about all kind of other things. I was at a local hardscaping firm here in Tulsa and just walked all over their property, acres and acres of stones, and finally found this little weird guy. It's actually one stone.
It looks like two.
Exactly. And apparently Mother Nature over many, many, many years, hundreds if not thousands of years, has done all that sculpting to it. So it was a real hassle for us to get it into the garden and then lifted it up on its base and making kind of an accent out of it. And then one of the guys that's really blessed us with night lighting came along, and by the way, the garden's beautiful at night for anybody who wants to come up here then. But there's a light in the center of the cleft, and it just glows at night, so it's
interesting shadows, I bet.
Kind of unusual and kind of pretty, you bet.
Okay. An instant natural sculpture for your garden.
That was the idea.
Okay. I like your little edging of golden Joseph's coat. around here.
Trying to create a stage for the big boulder here, and to give a contrast in color and texture again, with a light color, even lighter color, and then the purple wave petunias behind it kind of makes a nice little presentation.
Sure, great contrast, that yellow and magenta color.
Exactly.
I'm glad to see you using these agastaches or hummingbird mints.
Oh, isn't that a great plant? Isn't that a great plant? I wish the public would just embrace this thing in their garden. It attracts virtually every kind of flying critter you can think of into the garden. And the smell is wonderful. I just can't walk by this plant without giving it that. And we jokingly refer to it as root beer plant with a little bit of imagination. That's kind of a root beer like, don't you think?
A little bit, yeah, I would say so.
And that's my favorite drink, so
okay.
What can I say?
Here's another agastache, a little bit pinker color.
That's right. Kind of picking up some of the interesting two colors together, just darker tones of the salvia next to it there. So
interesting little autumn sage.
There's just endless things that gardeners can do with all the combinations, and you just need 2 or 3 lifetimes to work your way through the whole plant palette, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But we're sure trying to do our best in our little garden here.
Gotta grow everything. I feel like I want to do that anyway. I like this little pale pink balloon flower you got here. You
got the white and the typical, the more common dark blue, and then the
Okay.
pink. And yeah, that was kind of a fun find at a local garden center when we ran across the very light pink one there. And again, that's a nice little contrast with the dark barberry next to it.
Oh yeah.
So, interesting.
Those pale colors.
And for everything that agastache will do in the garden, you know what pinta will do as far as attracting. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's a premier plant for butterflies in the garden. And it's really fun to mix them together there. The pink, the white, and the red kind of makes a real nice presentation. I don't know that the butterflies care, but I kind of think it's nice.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. It's like you got about 4 or 5 different colors
That's right.
of pintas right
That's
there.
right. That's right.
And then I'm sure this plant gives you quite an aroma when you come by here.
That's chocolate flower, yeah, a native wild species out west. And I guarantee you, if you visit this garden in the summertime, and it's before noon, I think the aroma kind of loses it after the temperature really gets hot during the day. But in the morning hours, up to about 10 or 11 o'clock, the closest thing you can compare it to would be if you had your nose stuck in a Hershey's cocoa box. I mean, if you're a chocoholic like I am, you're going to want to linger right here a little bit. So,
you want to pass by this plant too quick. We
Not
saw a
too
lot
quick.
of these out in the Panhandle, way out at Black Mesa.
Prairie
we were out there
plant.
earlier this
You
year.
bet.
Well, Barry, we just got through closing our water garden down for the winter, and I'm sure you guys are getting ready to do the same thing, but you have absolutely a beautiful multi-level water garden.
We are
here
so
for
proud
the
of this. And
Extension office.
if you're going to do a memorial garden, I think it's just the life that comes with water in the garden for the plants, the animals, and then the sound of water. There's probably nothing more soothing than that. And we're very proud of this. We've got about 4 levels to this little water garden here, and so we get a very nice effect out of it sound-wise, and pretty good fish population. Could use a few more koi. I don't know when you're going to bring me some koi over, but we could use a few more.
I think it's just an outstanding water garden.
Well, thank you.
And a nice little bridge we're crossing here.
Exactly, and Steve, I tell you, that's another exciting thing that the public might be interested in knowing about this whole garden is that, you know, if you were going to turn key and have to hire this designed and have it built, you're looking at well over $100,000.
Be very
here.
expensive.
We have much less than that, and the bridge is a case in point. It was probably a $1,200 option to get that built, and so shoot, a couple of the master gardeners just got together and say, we can build that in our garage, and by golly, they did. So
we can do it.
We saved a lot of money right there. In fact, this trellis that you're standing under here is kind of a similar thing. The master gardeners just took up a donation and came up with the money to hire a guy, and then he worked with us on his fees and at a very, very reasonable price. And so really one of the prettiest views of the garden is looking back from the direction we just came. You've got the water, you've got the little falls here. So it's a wonderful little place to sit down and just take it all in. And of course, if you're here for memorial purposes for the veterans who have passed on, it's just a great place to linger and to think about some neat people.
Well, I know I'd want to hang out here, visiting the garden, sit in the shade of the arbor.
I love to sit here and have the sun come up in the morning and get here before the office opens, and it's one of my favorite little hangouts, absolutely.
Beautiful artwork. I really like this plant. Of course, we talked about this earlier on Oklahoma Gardening this year, the little weeping blue Atlas cedar, one of my favorite weeping trees. And What are you guys attempting to do with this plant, Barry?
Well, as you know, it's going to take us years to get there, but that's, hey, we've got nothing better to do, right, than to watch plants grow.
Absolutely.
But the idea is for this blue weeping cedar here to eventually just cover the whole back side of this trellis. And as you're coming down 15th Street there, we think it's going to make a really, against the redwood, the blue foliage against dark red should be very, very outstanding. And we just love for some of it to kind of peekaboo through the lattice on this side. So it's just a wonderful accent plant, almost like a blue waterfall eventually coming off the trellis here.
That's outstanding. I love what you're doing with that. Well, back here along the path more towards the western side of the extension office, we've got more plantings, and I really like what you did with these granite stone pillars placed along the pathway.
Well, that's a little unusual. You don't see a lot of that in this part of the country. Actually, on the East Coast, as you know, and West Coast, I think landscape architects are employing vertical stone elements in the garden a little bit more than perhaps we are out here, but I love them, Steve. I think again, it's thought-provoking, and as people come to this part of the garden, three very bold elements like that, their gray color and their verticalness just really makes it an opportunity to cause people to pause and to enjoy the garden and to reflect a little bit.
I think they're very artistic. I just love the contrast you get with the different earthy colors, the bright colors of the plant and those wonderful boulder columns.
Isn't that a great combination? That's Laura Bush Petunia over there, named after the First Lady, and that against that gray is outstanding. And each of those columns are night lighted, so again at night you get a really beautiful accent effect with a flood of light coming up them and bouncing off that rough texture there. So it's just really something we've enjoyed immensely.
Wonderful, wonderful combination. Well, you guys are definitely open to the public here. Anyone can come out.
Exactly, yeah. In fact, again, just remind the folks that the purpose behind the whole garden was to thank the master gardeners who have spent many years of their lives serving the public. They don't serve us, they're serving the public, and we're just giving them the vehicle through the Master Gardener program. So we've accomplished that, but the other part of the goal is to get people to enjoy the garden and to use the garden. So the public is always invited to be here. 7 days a week, 365 days a year, this garden is open to the public.
Okay, you guys have a wonderful group of master gardeners over here, and
we do.
I guess George
Gustafson is our chairman this year. Fantastic group. We've got almost 300 volunteers in this program now. Isn't that exciting?
That's incredible.
And George, we have about 60 master gardeners who pay back their time or really serve the public again by taking care of this garden. And George is this year's chairman, and he does a fantastic job with his crew.
He certainly does. The garden just looks outstanding.
I wish there were maintenance-free gardens, but I don't know of any. I don't know about you. So it takes about 60 people just to keep this thing looking pristine and as pretty as it now looks. Okay. So we're very grateful to George and the rest of them.
Great. I know your army of master gardeners are just wonderful at answering questions. So if anyone has a gardening related question, they can come by or give the office a call.
Absolutely. That's the whole reason for our being, and people are finding out about them. I tell you, this year alone we'll answer over 60,000 logged questions coming into the office. So, but we'd like to see that 120. Shoot, let's go for it.
Sure.
But we think this is again going to be a great learning tool for folks, and we're so glad that you came over and showing your audience what the volunteers have accomplished here.
It's a wonderful garden. Thanks for showing us around.
Well, thank you.
Okay.